Lone Star Pawn and Bargain Center, 6509 I-30 on the Frontage Road in Greenville. Your one-stop shop for TVs, electronics, computers, and gaming systems. Lone Star Pawn offers a giant selection of hunting, fishing, outdoor gear, and firearms. We've got everything from lawn and garden equipment and job site tools to musical instruments. For the best deals and pawn rates in town, come see us on the south side of the Frontage Road in Greenville.
Need a part for the right price? Look for that red and blue sign, Henley Auto Supply, 1510 Stonewall. Over 800,000 CarQuest parts to choose from. Domestic, European, and Asian parts. Henley Auto Supply, 903-455-1969. 455-1969. Henley Auto Supply has the right part to keep your vehicle running. Backed by the best hometown service. Henley Auto Supply. Great people, great products, great prices. Henley Auto Supply and CarQuest.
Well, good morning, folks. It's your old buddy Luke Clayton and Mr. Jeff Rice.
Morning.
Today. How you doing, Jeff?
Good. How are you, sir?
I'm ready to talk hog hunting. This was Jeff's idea, folks, and it's a good one. We're going to talk about, let's call this Hog Hunting 101.
Absolutely.
And we're down on Jeff's place, the Buck and Bass Ranch, and if you can see around us, we're in the bottoms, right in the middle of some of the best hog hunting, honestly, that I've ever been exposed to. About 300 or 400 yards through here this morning, I killed a hog right out of the box.
Sure did. A nice one too.
A nice one. So it's a fun day. Actually, the backstrap is cooked. We just finished eating some backstrap of some very, very fresh pork. So our goal, Jeff, is to talk to people and explain some of the things that are going to be rudiment to experienced hog hunters. So we know that.
Absolutely.
And if you're an experienced hog hunter, you just agree with us.
That's right.
But if you're not, some of the stuff we're going to cover, Jeff, is going to help some people, I'm sure.
Absolutely. We want to give you folks some tips for those of you that are kind of wanting to get into the hog hunting thing and kind of what to look for, the signs of hogs, those kind of things that will help you become a better hunter. There's a lot of little tricks and tips out there we'll kind of cover today, what to look for, where to go. And we want to cover all of that for you. We're going to kind of show you some setups, maybe some blinds. We'll talk a little bit about trail cameras, some of the products that we use, all of these things that help us shoot hogs. So we're going to cover the gamut a little bit. So we're going to kind of move around the property here, and we're going to show you some different things.
And Jeff, the way we hunt, which I'm an old outdoors rider, I'm sure most people that listen to this know that. I killed a hog this morning with the Air Force Air Guns Texan, a big 45 caliber, 350 grain bullet.
Right.
But we hunt with everything. So this is not so much about bow hunting. I still hunt with a bow a lot. Jeff is a major bow hunter. But even people that just patterning hogs, finding out where they're at, locating concentrations of hogs. If you hunt them at night, we hunt them at night with digital night scopes, Photon XTs. A lot of people use thermals. So what we're going to cover, folks, is going to help you find hogs. Before you can kill them, you got to find them, right?
That's exactly right. And our first tip that we're going to give you is do your homework. There's areas, they say Texas is full of hogs. It pretty much is, but there's not hogs necessarily everywhere. So find an area that you know that there are hogs. Right there, you've increased your odds. And some of the things we're going to show you today are going to give you, that's going to be your clue. Yep, there are hogs here. And probably one of the most, the best way I know of to find hogs is a trail camera. And we won't go into deep into the trail camera because there's all kinds out there. Pick your trail camera, but trail camera placement and just utilizing them, checking them out. You'll see what's in the woods. There are your eyes in the woods. Very important. Do your homework, find places where there are hogs, set up trail cameras, and when you go there, you'll know that there are hogs there. Then you begin your game plan as to where you want to set up, and we'll get into the setups here in a minute.
Good deal. Well, Jeff, I say we head back on in the swamp, the lowlands here, and show some rubs, where they rub in the trees and trails. And
let's do that, but before we do, let's talk a little bit about products.
Let me tell you about,
let's talk a little about what we use.
Folks, this is not a commercial. You can call it one if you want to. I'm 100%. This is, it's called Scent Guardian. Now, Texas raised hunting products. Our buddy Larry Weissoon got me interested in this and got me using it. This stuff works. It doesn't mask scents, it eliminates it. Now, don't ask me the chemistry behind why it works. Larry could probably explain it to you. You spray this down and it eliminates. You can put gasoline, and I've done this, on a rag and leave it overnight, and you smell the gas. Spray that and give it a few hours, it's gone. You can't smell any gas.
Amazing.
So anyway, I've in the years past, I've not been a big believer in scent cover scents and stuff. This is a odor eliminator. So the use of this, the hog's number one way of protection.
Listen to this, key important.
Yeah, he can, and don't think they're blind. They are not blind. You know, I've heard so many people think they're half blind. They're not. But they do have a nose. In Germany, they can sniff out a truffle 14 inches under the soil.
Absolutely.
And don't think they can't smell you if you're downwind. Cover Scent, Scent Guardian, Texas raised hunting products. Call it a commercial if you want to. Check this out. And as long as we're talking about scents, this is the coolest deal. Now, anybody that's hunted hogs much, Jeff, they know the best corn. Hogs eat corn. If they can smell a truffle 14 inches under
They'll
the
smell
ground,
a pile of corn.
And it does not have to be sour.
That's right.
But baits and all that, I mean, I've mixed Kool-Aid with soured corn. I've done it all. Dug post hole down, and that's not a bad plan too. Put corn down the post. It'll keep them there a while.
That's right. Keeps them there.
This stuff right here, I want to you got to take the top off this rascal, which is sealed up pretty good. It's made by Texas raised hunting products, and it's Inflamed Sow Seduction. It's got a picture of a hog on it. I've been putting this out on the Trinity River with no corn, no nothing. And the cool thing is, it's sealed. There's a pop. We're gonna pop the top on this thing here in a minute. But you open it up, and it's the scent glands from the hogs, folks. The first time I used it, I've got trail camera pictures with hogs, boars and sows with their nose right in it. But what you do, I'm gonna show you, just take it like a can of Vienna sausage, right? Look here. Listen to this sound. Now this is not Vienna sausage. I'll pick this up later. Now, okay.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. Now you're talking hog here.
You bet.
And then you just basically put that down, and then you open this up,
vent
thing up like this.
There you go. Yeah.
We've got it vented up here. I set that out on a trail camera the first night, and it looked like a war zone around it. And this was not in the one I found the next morning was not in pristine condition like this. So the use of attractants works. Corn is your best friend for sounders of hogs.
Yeah, that's candy to a hog, folks. I mean, you put corn on the ground, and we at the Buck and Bass Rancher, we have 13 feeders going year round, and believe me, that's one of the reasons why we have a lot of hogs here, is they've got food to eat.
They would be hogs coming through.
Oh yeah.
But now they come through, and it's a smorgasbord for them. So anyway, Texas raised hunting products, folks. Check this out. They also, what we're going to be using here this fall and winter, they've got some awesome scrape material, scents for bucks. So we're going to put that to use too. Back to hogs. So, do we want to show the folks some of the sign?
Let's go into the sign, but I want to cover one little thing we missed. We talked about their scent, their nose. They smell good. You'll get busted every time if you're not setting up in the wind correctly. So know your wind direction, and know that hogs will come in using the wind. As Luke alluded to, don't think a hog is blind. They're not blind. If you move really slow, you can get by with movement, but be careful there. And the third thing is hearing. Hogs do hear pretty good, so you gotta kind of be quiet. So keep those things in mind. Those three things, I think, are really the key element to successful hog hunting. So yeah, let's take a walk around. We've got some things around here. I want to show you folks some sign, and this is what you want to look for when you're out here hog hunting. You see this stuff, you'll know there's hogs in your area. We'll be back.
Your first set of wheels didn't come with hassles. It can be that way again at Tire Pros.
Okay folks, we are back, and one of the things I want you to take a look at here It's really right in front of us here, leading right toward the camera. This is a well-used hog trail, and obviously you can tell that it is. It's well beaten down, and you can clearly see hog tracks moving through the area here. A couple things I want to point out. Number one is you can tell a couple things. Number one, the size of the hog coming through here by the size of their hoof print. Give you a good idea what size hogs you got going. Secondly, what way are the hoof prints going? The freshest hoof prints. That'll tell you which way they're moving. In this particular case, looking here, I can see majority of the hoof prints in this area right here are going right toward the camera. And it looks like several of these are extremely fresh, so my guess is a couple right up in there. My guess is those hogs came through here within the last maybe 3 or 4 hours. They came right on through here, and there's a feeder down the way a bit, and they were probably heading that direction. But you need to look for these crossings and these trails. There's one that comes in here, joins in here, comes right down through here. So they meet. So these hogs will use different trails. Now, don't think for a minute that I don't hunt these trails, because these trails, you know they're going to come down them. So if the wind happens to be blowing in this direction, I'm certainly not going to hunt up here, because my scent will go right across this trail. I might want to go bring a little stool, just a little chair, set it back in the woods, downwind of a trail like this, and man, I tell you what,
Killed a lot of hogs like that.
Absolutely.
And this is really like a junction of trails. One trail is good. Two trails is better. And we do have this one, and then 2 trails coming.
Absolutely.
Coming in.
But the key thing here is making sure that they're being used. There's some old trails in the woods you'll see that may have been deer trails. That could even have been. You got to look for tracks, and we'll show you some hoof prints here of a hog, and maybe kind of differentiate what a hog track looks like versus a deer track. So we'll be back, and we'll show you some more stuff.
Folks, here is a typical rub. This tree has been rubbed in recently, but not a whole lot. Some of these trees that we can probably show you have been rubbed to the point that, you know, it's down, the bark is gone, totally gone. Hogs coming down that trail that we just showed you, they've been rubbing right here. Here's a very interesting thing that I just learned a few years ago. You see a boar a lot of times will get up and use his cutters and the wheaters and mark, a scent mark. That's what he's doing. We'll probably find a tree like that soon around here somewhere. But you'll see just looks like someone took a pocket knife up here and just chipped it, cut it. Well, that's where a boar is. And don't always think the boar, I've seen them up this high. Now, I used to think, wow, what a boar. Well, that's not what's happening. A lot of times I have seen boars get up and try to walk these saplings down. They scratch their belly, and so they're not standing there with their head this high. They're actually they get up on the trees. I've seen that happen, actually witnessed it. So a rub, find an area with a lot of these rubs, fresh, and you're in good hog country.
Okay, folks, I alluded to this a little bit earlier in the show, but this right here is your eyes in the woods. Get you a good trail cam, set them out in appropriate areas on the trails that we just showed you a minute ago. Set one up on a trail. You'll see when they're coming through. You'll know what time they're coming through. You know which direction they're going. You'll know what size of hogs you've got. A lot of good and useful information captured right here. If you don't have one of these out in the woods, you might be missing the boat. Okay, folks. Another thing that you really want to get set up in the woods in the appropriate areas is blinds. Obviously, you got to have a place to hunt, but don't think for a minute you have to have a blind when it comes to hog hunting. It's not like deer hunting. Again, they can see, they will smell, they can hear, but you can get away with just bringing a little chair. As a matter of fact, did you not do that this morning?
Dad, you bet.
Just
Set back up. The wind direction. Watch the wind direction, and the prevalent directions too. The wind, for most of us, you know, that we hunt in Texas a lot, but southwest wind, very common. Think about the wind. Bring a compass. I take a compass with me a lot of times when I place a ladder stand or a ground blind. You've got this set up for, you know, it'll kind of get a crosswind or whatever. You're safe with this, but think about the wind direction.
Yeah, there's apps out there, folks, you can put on your cell phone, and it shows you which way the wind's blowing. And I just look at that and go, oh, wind's going that way. Okay, we're hunting over here. Or, you know, you just got to get your directions right. But placing blinds, I've got a ground blind built back here. We've got a ladder stand here. We've got a feeder off in that direction. And the reason why I have it set up this way is your wind typically is coming out of the south and it's blowing off this direction. All right, so I know right here my scent's not blowing that direction into the feeder, because if it was, probably not a good place to hunt. So we've got 2 blinds set up here, one on the ground, one in the air. Take your pick. Some people don't like to climb ladders. Ground blinds work perfect. But once again, don't forget, you can grab a little chair and set it over against a tree, and believe me, that does work.
Folks, if you have ever been around domestic hogs, you know they love water.
They do.
They do. The hogs gravitate to water. Here's a typical water. There's a water source, a low drain coming through here that, gosh, it goes all the way just a natural low spot. Jeff's feeder's right over here, stands here. Even in the summer, it's going to be damp, and hogs can root in that soft soil. So water, I mean, you don't have to be on a river, but many times in the summer, ponds. Say you're not in the bottom, we're in the bottoms, the Sabine bottoms right now. But say you're up on high ground, a pond, they're going to come to that.
They
will.
will.
To the water. Jeff, let's talk a little bit about still hunting. Some people call it stalking hogs. Something I've done a lot, and I know you have, and it's a lot of fun. But to me, this is just tailor-made for that kind of still hunting. Wind direction, if you want to have some fun, folks, try that. It works. Not every time, but when it does work, it's very, very exciting.
The one thing you got to remember, though, if you're stalking, you want that wind in your face. If the wind's behind you blowing where you're stalking, you're wasting your time. So just keep that in mind. Again, the wind is probably the most critical element when it comes to hog hunting, because their noses are so amazing.
Something I learned from our mutual friend Mark Billette down in, he has B&C Outfitters down in Groveton, Texas, years ago. I was doing a muzzleloader story, and I just started hunting with a muzzleloader, an old percussion type, So we were down in the country very much like this, and I was thinking we're stalking hogs. Mark had a camera going, I was doing the shooting. Well, we spotted some hogs maybe 75 yards through cover, very much like this, thick, not like the water, but just thick cover. So I said, okay, there they are. Let's go to them. Old Mark is probably one of the more experienced hog hunters. He makes his living hunting.
Sure.
He says, oh, look, I tell you what, the wind was coming. Blowing. He said, I tell you what, let's sneak around. And we took off this way. The hogs were over there. Came up and let the hogs come to us. So
Smart.
if you're gonna stalk, and I've killed a ton of them since then. I always remember old Mark telling me that. So if you ever want to get out and still hunt, slip through the woods, and I don't mean walk. I'm talking about take a step every 2 or 3 steps every minute. Don't just start walking. Use your ears, and a lot of times you'll hear them. You'll hear
most of the time you will.
Yeah,
it's amazing.
You'll hear a sow whack another pig. They'll squeal, or a boar.
Yep.
Trying to chase a sow. You'll hear them, or you'll hear them just feeding. And then when you do hear them, watch the wind, sneak around, get behind or get downwind, and try your best to let them come to you. What do you think, Jeff?
Absolutely. And one of the things, we're talking about water here, stalking along water, especially in the daytime hours when it's very hot outside, I can promise you those hogs are going to be somewhere in this area, because what they do is they'll actually lay down in this water. And don't think for a minute they won't walk through this stuff. They're in the water. That's how they keep bugs and insects off of them. They stay cool. In the heat of the day, this is where they're going to be. So keep that in mind. If you want to stalk along a body of water, keep the wind in your favor, stalk that body of water and be watching up ahead. And another thing, when it comes to stalking, Luke, I think one real key element as well is having a good pair of binoculars. You don't want to walk up on something and spook them. If you can kind of watch ahead as you're stalking along, and then you see something, you hear something, and you can make your plan to move on in. So we're going to move on. There's other things we need to show you folks, but we're going to have take a little break here and have a word from our sponsor, and we're going to be back and we're going to show you some wallows and some other things that you want to look for, or signs that will help you let you know that there are hogs in your area. So we'll be back.
Did you know choosing a full-service hospital for surgery can make a difference? Unlike standalone surgery centers, choosing a full-service hospital reduces the risk of being transferred in the event of a complication. Hunt Regional Medical Center's state-of-the-art surgery center is home to specialists in weight loss surgery, orthopedics, general surgery, and many more specialties. Our anesthesiologists deliver nerve blocks to stop pain before it starts. That means less medication and a faster recovery. Go to huntregional.org to learn more.
Being on the move used to be hassle-free. Find your way there again at Tire Pros.
Here's a very important tip, folks. So this here is a hog track, and one of the most interesting things about a hog track is, and the differentiators between a hog and a deer is, you can see this is pretty rounded in here. That tells you it's a hog. Deer will have very, very pointed ones. Now here's a little piglet. It does look a little bit pointed, but believe me, there's a big V here. See the V here? You'll notice on a deer, it's going to be very much moon-shaped, more moon-shaped than this rounding. So keep that in mind when you're looking at tracks. That right there is a good size, probably 100-pound hog right there. So.
Folks, we're at a place now where there have been hogs, not last night, but recently. There's been a lot of rain down in this country, so when you hear people talk about, I've got a hog problem, this is what usually kicks off that, you know.
Sure does.
Now, if you have a big hay field, or say you're raising corn or an agricultural crop, you know, this is a problem. Now, where we're at, these hogs, they probably did this one night. You know, it doesn't look like a wallow where they keep coming back, Jeff, but, you know, it's not rocket science. This is hog sign here, you know.
I think they're in here, Luke. I think they were digging for grubs and anything that they could come up with. But folks, you can obviously see this is almost looks like it's been tilled. There's tracks everywhere. So obvious sign of hogs. And you know, you look at this and you go, wow, there's a lot of tore up stuff here. And you'd be surprised. It doesn't take a lot of hogs to do just this little bit. It's amazing, but they will come in there and they'll put their little noses in the ground and
they could have done this in 30 minutes.
Yeah.
Looks like they worked at it for hours, but I bet it didn't take them 30 minutes in here.
They came in here looking for grubs, probably found a few, and went on to the next hole.
So yeah, so obvious hog sign.
Obvious hog signs. So stuff like this is what you want to look for. You see this, and you know, beyond a shadow of a doubt, that you've got hogs. Okay, folks, we're back to another obvious sign of hogs. Now, you can see there's just a little bit of wet mud in here, but when you find what's called a wallow, typically there'll be a low spot where there's water, and the hogs will come in here and they'll actually roll around in these low spots. And they love to get the mud on them and get wet, and what that does is kind of takes insects off of their, you know, their body, kind of cools them off. They absolutely love it. So a lot of times you'll see hogs running around the woods and they look all muddy, and that's why they look muddy, right, Luke?
Yes, you know, if you look close, I don't know if it's visible, there's clay. There's clay in this, and back to the insect repellent, I have heard, I don't know this for a fact, but I've noticed rubs often happen in areas with clay.
Yeah.
Because that clay sticks to their hide, their hair, and stays with it. But you can see all the clay. It looks just like sand, but if you look close, there's clay in there. So good tip, a rub.
And there's been hogs in here not recently. These are older tracks in here, and the reason they're probably not in here now is because obviously there's no water in here. Typically, on an active wallow, Luke, you'll see, you know, several inches of water in a puddle, in a pool, and many times that water is really muddy because it's been churned.
Yep.
And hogs come in there and they'll use it, they'll go back out, they'll come back in, they'll use it. So you'll know that there's been activity in there.
Jeff, a real fresh one, you know, you'll actually see the indention of the hog. You can say, okay, that was a 100-pounder. Like, you know, that actually his body molds to the clay, to the soil. So hog wallow, yeah, Hogs like water, and a hog waters.
Another obvious sign, folks.
Yep. Well, Jeff, right here, buddy, we were walking down the trail, is a bed. Sows, and this is, we're in a pine plantation here, folks. You may not have pine trees on where you hunt, but you will have some litter, you know, from the woods, the forest litter. But if you're in pine country, hogs just love to, the sows will bed up in this and have their pigs. And this, I don't know how much they've used this area, but they've been in here. But I mean, I've seen them big, and I've seen communal bedding areas with several
of these around. Yeah, exactly.
And the sows, they depend on each other for protection. But yeah, I mean, it's pretty common, but you don't see it a lot. But if you look, know where to look, you'll see these beds.
Yeah, there's a couple larger size tracks in the area, so I'm guessing this might even be a boar.
It could be
bedded in here.
Yeah, it's a pretty good sized indention right there. Yeah, it could be, but
they'll come in here and they'll kind of move leaves away and kind of find some cool ground. They like to keep their bodies cool, and it's shady in here. There's nice breeze blowing through the pines. They can lay in here. They can watch for things around them, anything that might be They don't really have any natural predators per se, but except me and Luke.
Until they get up, I think I've read and I've seen this. When a pig gets about 2 weeks old, he's a fast little rascal.
Oh yeah.
Bobcats and coyotes, and then they do. Coyotes do eat the small ones, but they'll team up on them to grab one and run.
Yep.
But probably easier said than done. Another thing, in the winter, you'll see that they like to get in here because I've seen them bedded up when it's real cold. You have to. So,
have you ever heard the term hog pile, folks? I actually was on a hunt one time, and I'm walking along, and I see this giant black blob, and at the closer I got, and it was a very, very cold day, and it was a hog pile. It was literally a sow, and the piglets were just piled on top, and then some of the younger ones were piled on top of them. That was the most amazing thing. I wish I would have had a picture of that.
Try not to freeze.
It was the most amazing thing I've ever seen
Plenty
in my life.
cold, really.
Absolutely. So,
they will do that. That's something that you might overlook, but
yep.
They do make beds.
That is a hog bed right there, folks, and some of the other things, we've got a food plot, and for Luke and I to go to the food plot, it would be a little bit of a walk. My dad's got the buggy, so he's off hunting, so I don't want to spook him, and we're going to kind of stay out of that area. But when you talk about other food sources for hogs, they'll root, they'll look for grubs, they'll hit the corn. But a food plot, I've got deer food plots in here, and they'll root up in there, they'll get in there and dig and eat, and
they'll go where the food is.
They'll go where the food is.
In the fall, the acorns, and
right.
In most of the country that you and I hunt, East Texas, North Texas, acorns start falling in September.
Yep.
And when they fall, I mean, they'll still hit corn feeders. Deer not so much. Deer will sometimes abandon a corn feeder when the acorns are heavy.
Yep.
But hogs, like we said earlier, they are programmed to eat corn. So that's your best bet, corn, to keep close.
And that's a good question, and I'm glad you kind of mentioned that, because I think we get a question a lot from a lot of people is like, what's the best bait to use? Do you put diesel in your corn? Do you this? Do you that? I don't know about you, but my thought is just shelled corn.
I've tried it all, and here we always bounce these things, and I think we think of things. Here is a point that is a fact. I learned this a long time ago. Okay, I used to think, okay, hogs, their nose is good. I'm going to put something out there that they can smell a mile away. And I used some old catfish bait one time. They'll smell that and they'll come in. A foreign smell sometimes does way more harm than good.
Oh yeah, because they're not used to that smell.
When they come up, they're a cautious animal, especially if they get a little age on them. They'll come up and get downwind, they'll smell something that's not normal, not a food source, and they don't know what it is.
Yep.
They're gone. So shelled corn, by golly.
Yep.
I've as far as baits. Now these sex attractants or scents of the sows that we've showed earlier, that kind of stuff, it's got to work. A boar come in, they're always looking for a sow and estrus. That's what they do.
Yeah, that's the real scent right there.
Will not, and the one I had on video came up the first night. Not video, but my trail camera. and had his nose. Well, he rooted that thing all up.
Right up in there, yeah.
So those the natural sense like that, I'm a big believer.
Oh,
in.
absolutely, absolutely. But when it comes to baiting hogs, you can do what you want, but I would encourage you just to use regular shelled corn. I've talked to guys that, they'll add Jello to their corn and they'll put diesel in there.
Raspberry, it's got to be raspberry Kool-Aid.
Yeah, and they'll sour it for a week until it really stinks. And you know what? Those hogs, you put regular shelled corn on the ground, they'll smell that, they'll come in, and they're not spooked by that. It's to me, it's been the most effective way.
Here's another good thought, because we like to eat hog. Well, actually, the hog I shot early this morning, got him right after daylight, and I took the back straps to clean them up good, put them on the smoker. We sampled some of that already. So, but you have to, if you're going to be eating hogs, which we do, Jeff and I, and many of you folks do too, corn fed. A lot of these hogs it's not just here. I bet you go people feed deer, and the hogs a lot of them are corn fed, which makes them tasty.
Yeah.
One of these times, Jeff, I make a lot of ham, sugar-cured ham from wild hogs, and people say, "Well, how do you do that?" We're gonna devote a show or some time to showing you how to make ham, sugar-cured with honey on it, and you've had it. It's so anybody, folks, anybody can. You can buy $6. I'm getting us a little bit off topic on our scouting, but just remember, once you get that hog, it's some really good eating to be had.
We want to dedicate some shows on hog preparation because, once you get a hog, to me, there's no finer meat out there. I love venison. I love, you name it, but.
Yep, venison's great. This pork we had from this backstrap, this was a boar. I'd say 140-pound boar I shot this morning, about that, give or take.
Yep.
And fat as a butterball.
Yeah.
And I
fine-looking animal.
Cleaned up those back straps and cut them in little chunks, put them on that smoker, exposed them to some hickory wood, and then wrapped them. Oh man,
that meat didn't have a chance to get cold, and it was already on the smoker.
That's the second in my life, many years of hunting hogs. That's the second freshest pork I've ever.
The most amazing thing was Luke pulled that off the smoker, and he was going to cut it into slices. It didn't cut into. It came off like pulled pork.
It did.
It was so tender, and oh man.
If you get the indication from Jeff and I that we do love to hunt hogs, yes, but we love to eat them too.
We do. Well, we love to hunt everything, fish. It's all. You know what, folks? It's all about the outdoors. Get your family and your friends. Get out there and do this kind of stuff. It's endless fun. Is it not?
It is. I mean, it's really a lifestyle for me. I mean, I've done it forever. So
it is. Well, folks, we're gonna probably wrap the show up here. I think we kind of covered pretty much everything when it comes to what to look for. But just keep in mind some of the things that we covered. Let's kind of go back over them real quick. So food sources, obviously, we just talked about. Know your food sources. Water. Know that hogs love water. They live in and around water. As we started the show off, kind of do your homework. Know where to go. Know that there's kind of hogs in the area before you even start scouting. Trail cameras, very important to use trail cameras. They're your eyes in the woods. The routing, the trails, tracks. I mean, it's all of those things you want to be looking for. When you're in the woods, keep your eyes on the forest floor and look for that stuff, and you will find. And again, knowing that the hog has a great nose, not that great of eyesight, but pretty good. Hearing, that's pretty good. So knowing those things, you've got to make sure you're doing the right thing when you get in the woods, you're hunting the wind, those kind of things. Set yourself up for success. That's really what it is, right, Luke? I mean,
you're not going. If you spend the day out there hunting them, and you're going not going to kill one every time.
No,
but when you do it, these things will stack the odds in your favor.
That's right.
No question about it.
And as Luke started out with too, choosing your weapon. There's so many different kinds of weapons you can hunt with. Some people like to hunt guns. Some people like to hunt bows. I personally, I'll go out with a spear, and I like to do that. It's fun. It's very challenging.
Oh yeah.
The traditional longbow, I love to do that. Choose your weapon, but you owe it to the game to make the best shot you can, and that's very important. When you do hunt, don't take bad shots. Just don't do it. Get out of that. mode completely. You wanna take a perfect shot every time. If you can't take a perfect shot, don't take the shot at all. That's the way I am.
Just be patient and wait, and that shot will come. May not come in that 10-minute segment, but later. One last thing, Jeff. I want to mention my radio show. It is kind of in keeping with this. You can actually see what's going on with Jeff and I, but the radio show, catfishradio.org, folks. Go there, and we always have plenty of hog talk on that, but others outdoor stuff. A lot of people you can listen to it on a lot of radio stations, but I think about 18 different radio stations. But you can also click on it on your cell phone and listen to the segment.
Absolutely.
So catfishradio.org. I think you might pick some stuff up there too.
Absolutely. One final thing, folks. We've covered a lot of stuff here today. There is one resource that you can go to that covers this in even greater detail, and that's a book called Kill to Grill. And that book, I've read that book many, many times over the years, written by this guy right here. Excellent book. You can go to catfishradio.org. You can order that book. This isn't a sales pitch, but let me tell you what, great information for the guy that's starting out hog hunting. You want to learn, you want to get information. That's a great way to get it. Luke's got he's got all this stuff in there. It covers it soup to nuts and recipes on top of that. So check it out, folks. And I guess until next time, we want to thank you for joining us here at Friendly News. And
we'll be back.
Luke and myself, congratulations on the hog this morning, buddy.
Let's go eat some more pork.
Let's go eat pork. All right.